Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of TinChattin. As always, I'm here, Drew Fry, alongside Mike Moz. We're here at Parkview Field, and the Tin Caps returning home this week following one of the hottest stretches in the Midwest League. We were just discussing this before we started here.
Yeah, 6-game series over in South Bend against the Cubs, and Tin Caps took 4 out of the 6. And as we were just mentioning, in the last 10-game stretch throughout the Midwest League, Tin Caps have the best record at 7-3 over those 10 games.
Taking 10 of 13.
10 out of the last 13 overall. When you consider the 5-1 week against Dayton, week before last, and the finale of a 6-game series in Lansing. So the Tin Caps, if not the hottest team, one of the hottest teams in the Midwest League, and now they're home for not one but 2 6-game series.
Yeah.
And
Parkview Field's going to be busy here.
It's going to be busy, and we can maybe later on talk a little bit about some of the promotions and
of course,
things that are going to happen besides the baseball. But in terms of baseball, it's a showdown, number 1 against number 2 in the Eastern Division.
West Michigan comes to town.
West Michigan and the Whitecaps have won 3 in a row. They took 4 out of 6 from Lansing last week over in suburban Grand Rapids. And West Michigan has the second best overall record in the league at 21-12 starting play this week. Tin Caps 2 games back at 19-14. So you got 2 teams that are coming into play this week. They've already won a combined 40 games this year.
Yeah.
So you got some good talent.
It's a good stretch, especially because just a couple weeks ago we were talking about, possible losing streaks, the Tin Caps trying to find their form, and I know that these most 2 recent series are against 2 of the teams that have been near the bottom, that have been through some of their woes as well, but it's still 2 series wins, getting the Tin Caps in a position to where at the end of this week they theoretically could be in first place.
And let's explain that to our viewers. We mentioned West Michigan 21-12, the Tin Caps in second at 19-14.
2 games back.
Then you have both Lake County and Lansing, who won further game back at 18-15, and Great Lakes, don't forget the Loons.
Yep.
They're 17-16. So you've got 5 teams within 4 games of each other.
All above 500 there.
And 6-game series, of course. So West Michigan's here in Fort Wayne for 6.
Yep.
Lake County is at Great Lakes for 6. And Lansing is hosting South Bend for 6.
Yeah.
So when we convene next Monday, the standings could have a whole different look to them, and any one of 5 teams could be leading the pack, so to speak.
That's fun.
It's going to be fun here.
Oh, yeah.
Whitecaps and Tin Caps have had a long rivalry, and that goes back to 1994. West Michigan, ironically, both teams moved from Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. A bit of history there, yeah.
West Michigan moved over from Madison. They were known as the Madison Muskies. And they came to Grand Rapids and became the West Michigan Whitecaps.
Yeah.
And of course, the Tin Caps were in Wisconsin before they came here to start playing in 1993.
Yep, that was Fort Wayne Wizards, then became Tin Caps. So 2 sets of caps coming from Wisconsin.
2 sets of caps, and that's a term that I'm going to be flat honest. I hate hearing the term caps.
Okay.
It's Tin Caps and Whitecaps.
I'm learning here, yeah.
And it's going to be fun this week.
Yep.
Regardless of whether it's our colleague Dan Hasty, the voice of West Michigan, or whether it's John Owen or Jaden or myself, who's going to call the teams, the Caps, the most?
Right.
And how do you differentiate between the Tin Caps and the Whitecaps?
Well, especially this week, yeah. You need a way to differentiate between the 2 teams here.
But it's going to be a fun week of baseball. And something else that I think we should expand on that you and I talked about before we started the segment. Both teams are coming in having some high draft choices.
Yes.
And
top prospects in their system.
Yes.
Top prospects across baseball. So we're, of course, talking about Leo DeVries with the Fort Wayne Tin Caps and Max Clark with the West Michigan Whitecaps.
Correct. And, of course, Max Clark is a native Hoosier.
Yes. And drafted out of high school, top 10 draft pick himself. Yeah. And then last year when he was in Fort Wayne, once he got called up to the West Michigan Whitecaps near the end of the year, that was his homecoming. That was his Hoosier State homecoming as a pro. First time he played some form of pro baseball here in the state of Indiana, not too far from where he grew up, just within a few hours. And I know we got the chance to talk with him about that last year, and that was a lot of fun for him, and he's hoping to move up the system. He's back in high A this year, and I mean, he's hitting. So is Leo. There's a lot of hitting in this group.
Well, let's talk briefly about Leo DeVries. Again, he was a back-to-back Midwest League Player of the Week, and he was the minor league, not just Midwest League, minor league baseball Player of the Month for the month of April.
I know. That is incredible to be able to have that in Fort Wayne consistently. I mean, you hear about, Padres top prospects, but to have been able to see this, even when we had other top prospects, the amount of immediate success wasn't always apparent.
True, and there's always we talk about MLB Pipeline and MLB.com and this and that.
Their prospect rankings there,
rankings, and Leo has moved up to the
number three
spot.
He is ranked as the number 3 prospect in all of minor league baseball. MLB Pipeline's newest rankings as of this week.
And Clark is number 7. So you
top 10 player as well.
2 potential superstars. I'm going to phrase it that way.
Yes.
We're only at the high A level. You still got double A and triple A before you make it to the mountaintop, so to speak.
Yep.
In the big leagues. But 2 very talented players that will try to lead their teams this week.
And they're both incredibly young for being this successful at this level. I mean, again, Max Clark drafted out of high school in these past couple years. Leo DeVries, an international free agent, who is, I believe, the youngest player in the entire Midwest League at just 18 years old.
And I believe Max Clark is 19.
Yes.
I think he was signed at 17. And last year was his baptism into professional baseball.
Right.
I believe he's 19.
I think so.
But you got 2 very talented players that are still what I call learning the tricks of the trade on what professional baseball is all about. And so if the weatherman or weatherwomen, whomever it may be, cooperate, and
that's going to be the key.
We're going to get hopefully some good weather this week, and you get
looking at it now.
And you get 2 teams that are fighting for first place in the Eastern Division of the Midwest League.
Yeah.
And ironically, I was just thinking about this, Drew. Both of the parent clubs are doing well.
They are.
San Diego challenging the Dodgers for the top spot in the National League West.
Yeah, in all of National League. I believe those teams have some of the Padres are fighting for the best record in baseball right now.
And the Tin Caps have the best record in the American League at 26-15.
The Tigers,
the Tigers, I should say. And that's the best of the entire American League. And
if the season ended today, which long season, but that could be a World Series matchup.
Yeah. So you got 2 parent clubs that are playing well. You've got 2 teams at the high A level that are playing well. And again, we finally get some normal weather for this time of year for baseball.
We got some spring, early summer baseball weather finally.
We're looking forward to an exciting week here at Parkview Field.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about, with Leo DeVries, he's here as long as the Padres organization wants him to be. Now's the time to get out and watch him. Handful of roster moves already, though, that have been made. One of them that just right at the beginning of last week, Emmanuel Pinellas, who'd been Tin Caps opening day starter, and he played a full season with the Tin Caps last year as well. He's been called up to Double-A San Antonio. In his place, Miguel Mendez, who was pitching well in A-ball in Lake Elsinore, and I'd say he had a pretty solid debut for Fort Wayne.
Yeah, Friday night he went 5 innings against South Bend, no runs, 3 hits, no walks, and 7 strikeouts.
I'd say that's pretty good.
Got credit for a win.
Yeah.
And
Tin Caps debut, already the winning pitcher.
He had some big shoes to fill, because when we briefly talk about Pinellas' numbers here in Fort Wayne this year, 5 starts, a 3-0 record, a 1.40 earned run average, giving up just 4 runs in 25 2/3 innings of work.
Yeah.
And
that's hard to rack up those wins.
Hitters to bat just 184 against him in those 25 2/3 innings of work.
If I remember right, was amongst the top in the league.
Yes. So when
top 3,
you
I think.
lose a starter of the caliber of Pinellas and to have Mendez come in here and throw zeros for 5 innings in his debut.
Yes.
We can only hope that the same will happen later this week here at Parkview Field.
Yeah, he's going to be making his Parkview Field debut coming up this week as well. And then we'll see the different kind of roster moves throughout the season. We're in that window now where people are starting to get shuttled.
Yeah.
But obviously the key is, and the managers are going to keep talking about this, it's still finding ways to play winning baseball in this moment, no matter who you have out there on the field. Whoever's going to, whether that's a top prospect who has to sit for a day, whether that's moving guys up and down the lineup to get different reps in. And so far, a lot of different looks in the lineup so far, but the Tin Caps are finding ways to mostly consistently hit.
And you know, I want to take this, maybe it's an unfair comparison because Lucas Ray is still just 28 years of age.
Yes.
But
young managerial staff.
He's in his 4th year as a minor league manager.
Right.
And
he's already at that high level.
You look what he's accomplished, especially last year, taking Lake Elsinore, winning the first half South Division title in the Cal League and going to the Cal League finals where they lose a winner-take-all game 3-2-1. But one of the things that I've enjoyed watching Lucas manage this team here in Fort Wayne, he does things that you have some managers in the big leagues do in terms of the game-to-game moves. It's not, we hear the phrase a lot at the minor league level. It's not just winning a game, but it's establishing a culture and developing players to do the best they can as quickly as they can so they can move up the system.
Yes, and that's something that Scott Service was talking about, former MLB manager, now working for the Padres. He was in town a couple weeks ago, and he discussed that, the idea of winning baseball is developmental baseball.
And we've seen Lucas Ray make some moves during the ball game, whether it's pinch hitters, defensive moves, how he utilizes his bullpen.
Yeah.
And I'm selfish in 2 ways. One, he reminds me a small bit of Tiger manager A.J. Hinch, who, by the way, for a brief period of time was in the Padres organization. And I still, if I go back digging in my archives, I have a pregame interview with A.J. Hinch from a few years back.
Yeah, he has that experience at this club.
Anybody who watched the American League playoffs last year saw some of the amazing moves and the daring moves that A.J. Hinch made, such as bringing in a closer in the first inning to shut a team down and not have your starter go out right away, or
I mean, that was a ball club.
He utilized his team. You know, we talk about, I'll give a little Fort Wayne flair. Zach McKinstry, former Northside player, went on to play collegiately at Central Michigan, drafted initially by the Dodgers. Has played with the Dodgers, he's played with the Cubs, and now he's with Detroit.
Putting together a good season with the Tigers.
He's a left-handed hitter, but he plays multiple positions. And we're talking 6 or 7 positions.
Super utility.
Defensively. But he's hitting the ball really well this year, well above 300, even as we speak, starting play this week. So the usage of Hinch with his players in Detroit, the usage of Lucas Ray with the players he has here in Fort Wayne, there are some similarities.
Yeah.
But the biggest similarity that I've seen thus far, both teams are winning baseball games.
And that's the most important part.
It is.
That's what you're going to be able to see at that, you know, in the actual stat sheet. You know, every managerial move, it's a chessboard, it's a chess match, it's all of that. But at the end of the day, each manager's ultimate goal is to win. If you can win and you only get 2 hits, it's at least a win.
Well, the one game last week in South Bend, Tin Caps won. They only got 3 hits.
Right.
But they won.
But it's a win, and I'm sure that's going to be what the manager's going to care the most about.
But